All right, there we go. It is a brand new Odgies podcast, episode number 88, Harry. It's the Eric Lindros episode of the Odgies podcast.
Oh, jeez. The Crazy Eights.
Yeah, the Crazy Eights line. Who are the other two, Harry?
Oh, now you got me on a...
Recchi, of course, just went in the Flyers Hall of Fame, NHL Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Franchise record for points in a season over Clarkie.
Yeah, I'm not going there. I'm not in hockey mode.
Come on, Brent Fedek, Harry.
Oh, jeez.
He was supposed to play in the alumni game a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah?
Why
Why was he in no show?
I think he pulled a groin, Harry. Pulled up lame. Was like, I am not doing this at 58 years old, whatever he is, right? But Rex was in. Rex was in for the Hall of Fame game.
I'm sure he was in shape.
He was.
Yeah.
He looked like he could go out there and play on a Marchand line right now.
I believe it. I believe it.
Guy could snap it. We got some guests in our episode today. We're going to get to some stuff. You got some stuff you got to get off your chest, which we'll get to as well. But you know how we like to dip our toe. See, Harry and I really deep down never wanted to do sports radio. We wanted to do it initially as a gateway.
Right.
To being an old school rock radio jock.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Sports radio was sort of marijuana for us. And rock radio was our LSD and cocaine. Like it was the gateway to the real stuff.
By real, you mean the good stuff.
The good stuff. Exactly.
Yes. Let's bring them in now. We got some rock radio legends. We got Marcus in the Darkest and my man. Philly shirt on. Ray Koob. What's going on, boys?
Hello.
You guys are funny, man. I didn't realize sports radio was your gateway drug to radio.
Koob. I mean, you and I were in there at night, in the evening. You had that 7 to 10, 7 to 11 shift, whatever it was. And that's when my first show was on at night. And we were right down the hall from you on the third floor. And I used to sneak down during breaks and just kind of listen at the door to hear what you were doing, man, because I wanted to just bust in there. But every now and then the red light would go on and I couldn't come in. But I'm like, should I go in there, man? I want to talk rock and roll with Koob.
That's not an easy door to bust in, though.
No, it's not.
It's like a vault door.
and I'll tell you why, because Rodney actually put a lock. I don't know why he did it, but on the inside of that door and on the third floor, MGK Main was actually lockable, which was unheard of. Still, I don't know why. But
they should have brought that door back up. You should have brought that door to the fourth floor, man. We need that in the studio.
Sometimes we do.
Yeah, the fourth floor stall. Yeah. There's a Twitter handle about that bathroom.
Either the lock or they need to install one of those revolving doors in the Pierre Robert studio door because there's always people running in and out of there.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee that DeBella had something to do with that lock because I worked at YSP at 5th and Market. And
that's where we met.
That's where the original studios were for MMR before you guys swapped.
Yep.
And DeBella designed that main studio, and there was a feature in there, Har. On the left, you had your console here, and then on the left there was your cart rack with all your drops. You had carts, right? That we used to play everything off of. And there was a button, and you hit the button. There was a thing called the DeBellevator.
Yep.
And the cart rack went down into the console, and all his drops were behind it.
Oh.
Almost nobody knew that this existed except for those of us who were working there.
The DeBellevator.
But it was a great idea. One day they're looking at how they're going to get all these carts in there. And I know John, he was thinking like, how the fuck am I going to get around having to cart all these in here every day?
Yep.
And the logic was right there. And they just, they added a thing and put in an elevator.
That's
or the
brilliant.
DeBellevator, as you call it.
Yeah.
How about that? And now it was later, completely knocked down. That whole building's gone, and it's a museum now.
I know.
And
really,
yeah. So
Jewish museum or something.
Yes, American Jewish Museum.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but it was also where Channel 3 was located before they moved to Spring Garden and KYW.
Yep.
So, there was more than one occasion, including the day that MMR moved into 5th and Market, where they scared the hell out of everybody who'd been in that nice, quiet, bucolic news kind of vibe for so long. So,
well, MMR and NYSP were broadcasting from the same across the glass, essentially.
Yeah,
Really?
The main studio to Studio 2, I guess it was. You had the newsroom and then the other studio. They were stacked.
Wow.
And MMR's broadcasting through there. At YSP's in there as the move is taking place.
I was part of that, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, they had a B studio where we did a lot of production stuff. Where if you were like pre-recording a show, you could work in there.
Yeah.
So I was live in there for the first shift of YSP because I had worked in that studio while Earl Bailey was in the main studio, who's now on satellite radio. He was in the main studio, and he was the last broadcast from MMR in that studio, and we switched off. And Ed Shockey was waiting out in Ballakimwood because he had worked in the YSP studio, which is now the Ben FM studio in the corner there.
Wow.
So he was there, and that's why I was in at Fifth End Market. Yeah. It was one of those weirdest things to be working in the same studio suite with a competitor, basically. And it would have been
not a competitor. That was like a staunch competitor. There was a battle. It was a
mortal
hatred there.
enemy. Come on, you were mortal enemies.
Yeah.
It was the model for celebrity deathmatch. It really was in Philadelphia, at least. But the fact is that they wanted Channel 3 wanted us both to be live together on each other's air, and they were going to cover it on TV, an unheard of thing, right, in our world. And Tim Sabian's like, no effing way.
No I worked for Tim. You know Tim. He was a fun. There was on the board, Harry.
Yeah.
You had your hotlines. There was H1, H2, and H3. And H3 would ring. It'd be like another jock calling, like breaking your balls about something. But when H1 rang, nobody knew the number to H1. We tried to reverse engineer to get this number. Only Tim Sabian had that number. You'd do a shift and you'd just do a break or something, and you'd see H1 ring. You'd be like, oh, shit. And you pick it up and go, studio. And you were getting one of two messages. What the fuck are you doing? Screaming at you. You're ready to walk out and quit. And then he'd yell at you, and then he'd go, what are you doing tonight? You're going to go out and you going to a strip club? You getting fucked up? I'm like, I'm ready to quit, you dickhead. You just motherfucked me.
Was that the location after MMR moved from 19th and Walnut?
Yeah, they went from 19th and Walnut from Rittenhouse Square to
that's 19th and Walnut.
Yeah.
Because that's where I remember them when I was in college.
Yeah,
right on Rittenhouse. You could actually look up into the window. You could see them.
Yeah, at night when you were on the air at night, sometimes
yeah,
kind of creepy at 3 o'clock in the morning. Close the drapes just for that.
Yeah.
That was the only reason,
right?
Although I will say, Bubba John did discover that the ventilation, because of the big windows. Marcus, did you ever see the big windows in person?
I've seen the pictures of the big windows.
Okay, well, there's one right behind us every time we're on the. No, there's one in the studio right behind us.
I've seen those. Yeah.
He figured out the ventilation between the windows in the front of the studio and the windows in the back of the studio were perfect. I'll just say that for those late night moments. But it could be weird with the park right there across the street.
Right.
In this day and age, I don't know if I'd want to do that. Middle of the night stuff there.
In this day and age, I don't know that I want to do much of anything except what I'm doing, and that's playing golf and doing podcasts. That's about it.
Well, we got to catch up on that.
Shitload of nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, it's so funny. Let's get from both of you guys. Like, what led you into rock radio? Did you just not want to work for a living? Like me?
Didn't want to grow up.
Right.
Yeah. And wanted to be a rock star, but didn't have the music talent, right?
Right.
I actually just like asking questions and interviewing people and sharing information and being like, yo, check this tune out, and to be able to be paid to tell people to check this fucking tune out. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I totally
radio
don't have
was
to grow out.
Like getting paid to stay in high school.
Yeah.
Maybe after college.
Marcus, did you have one of the little transistor AMs that you kept under your pillow? I mean, I was that kid.
Oh, yeah. In the 70s, I was listening to cheesy FM songs, reading, and staying up late at night listening to radio, and someday going, I want to do that.
Wi-Fi 92 was the first FM station I probably listened to.
I was in Denver. It was like 96KX and KBPI and KZY and then eventually college radio like KBCO and KTCL in Boulder and Fort Collins. And then college, I did it. Our high school had a radio station. And then I wrote ad copy for a year out of college and was like, I couldn't do it anymore. And I was waiting tables, and somebody that I knew came in and was like, you want to be on the radio? And I'm like, yeah. You done with college? Yeah. You got your degree? Yeah. Call me tomorrow. And then a week later, I was doing overnights on a Michael Bolton, Amy Grant station.
Wow.
Wait a minute. I never knew this. We've been friends for 20 years,
Yeah.
co-workers for 10,
Yeah.
and podcast partners for 5 years, by the way. We just crossed 5 years in fact,
yeah.
it's today. Or
today.
Oh, is that right?
Today's the
5 years.
anniversary.
Yeah,
Our
5
fifth
years.
anniversary.
The imbalanced history of rock and roll is
Yep.
5 years old.
Yep.
It is. Son of a bitch.
Time flies quick when you get old.
When
Yeah.
you ain't working.
Well,
This ain't work, boys. This is
to
fun.
be fair,
Yep.
LSD time, it suspends reality.
Right.
We did a weekly Bent News update, a second episode every week for 75, 6 weeks there, Marcus. And so we would do our historic episode about, this week's topic of whatever that was, and then do, hey, here's what's going on this week in rock and in the world of rock.
A lot of celebrities are dying. We're at the age where we're losing a lot of very important and influential musicians who had a huge impact on the direction of rock and roll music, pop culture, and all of that. So
Yeah.
keeping people in the know, and talking a little bit about it is why we were doing it. And then, so yeah.
Well, we do a lot of research and we read a lot. And I don't know. I have a stack of books that we've read, but I also have a folder full of ebooks that we've read, and we're working on getting ready for an interview with Susie Ronson.
Mick Ronson.
Mick Ronson.
Ronson,
Yeah.
dude. From the very beginning, man. She either Marcus. She said she had journals, but she knows. He remembers everything. I don't know how. I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
Hair at the Ziggy Stardust time, helping to involve the fashion. And she wrote this book. It's out April 4th, and we got a chance to preview it. And it is so cool because it's such a different look at this scene and how things happen, in the, the dirty aspect behind the scene.
Yeah.
It's really well written. And she kept journals and kept notes, and she seems like really good people from what you read, and Mick seemed like a pretty incredible dude and super talented, man.
Such
Such
a
a
guitar
hot
sound that he
guitarist.
had with Bowie in the early to mid 70s. I mean, that's some of the Bowie's best stuff, in my opinion.
Yep.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Sexy as hell, his guitar.
Yeah.
The other guests that we had on recently, we've had a bunch of really good ones and a couple more coming up, but we had this guy, Joel Selvin, on. He's written a bunch of books, and we read his book about drummer Jim Gordon. I don't know if you know much about him.
He killed his parents, didn't
Killed
he?
his mom.
And
His mom.
killed his
Yeah.
mom.
Totally mental health.
A
he was
huge
nuts.
mental health story, a real, would you call it even a cautionary tale for people to, keep an eye on friends who have issues, because
He was in Derrick Than Dominoes, wasn't he?
he wrote the piano. The piano part of Layla. He's the
at the
drummer,
end.
right?
Yeah.
But at the end, he's just sitting there farting around at the piano one day, and they're like, "What the fuck's that?" He goes, "I don't know." They put that in at the end.
Put it in there.
Goodfellas.
But he was incredible. He could play melodically. He would add elements to the song. One day we were talking about the part of the book where he walks in one day and they're all like, "Hey Jim, what are you doing?" Because Hal Blaine was playing the drum parts, right?
Yeah.
So he's in there and he's got plastic milk jugs with slits in them at different lengths, and he's hitting them to get these different boing, 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 boing.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of things that he would add in the studio that nobody else would think of. The other side of it is very dark.
Yeah.
And Selvin's book and the way we talk about it with him really is great on the episode. Wherever you get your podcast, it's The Imbalanced History of Rock and Roll. But we've been a little busy these last few years just doing that.
Awesome.
And,
That book's incredible. I recommend you read it. And the way it dives into the mental illness and the aspects of his mental health issues, and the way he tells the story is pretty incredible. It makes you feel uncomfortable at times, but you learn a lot too. And one of the lessons that I got out of this book is pay attention to your friends. Listen to them.
Yeah.
Listen to the people you love. Pay attention to them. You will see the signs if there are issues. You will know the signs. They will give you hints. They will give you clues. They will tell you these things. Pay attention. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know
So,
you're being serious here, but
That was a clue.
yeah, that was a
oh,
total
he's
clue.
got more
Wow.
clues about me than he ever needs.
What-
Hey,
what's
Ray,
it-
how did you get into record rep stuff?
Who, me?
A&R.
And-
Well, I was working for Cal Rudman. You guys remember Cal and the Friday morning quarterback over in Cherry Hill?
FMQB.
I remember that name.
And worked with
You're
a
right
lot
in
of
the
people.
you were the metal guy there for
I
Christ's sake.
was,
know
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yes.
Did a lot of that stuff, and that's was kind of worked hand in hand with the rocker show that I did on MMR too. But you worked with a lot of people there, and I was talking about making a move, and CMC had a lot of my favorite classic rock and classic metal bands already, and there was talk about what they were going to do moving forward. So I went to work for them, and from that led me into some A&R opportunities to work with a couple artists that you really, people you know, growing up, you get to know them a little, and they say, hey, let me help you out here. That's basically what it was.
Wait a minute.
And
Rockers wasn't on MMR. Rockers was YSP. You mean metal?
no, Rockers
First
started
on
on MMR.
Really?
Yeah, well, first off, the original Metal Shop was on YSP and ended at
Oh,
about
yeah, you're right.
86 or so, because basically everybody got other jobs and left radio. Dirt and Ed and everybody got involved in different things. So there was a time when there was no metal show, and then I got the rocker show started there on MMR. When I left MMR and went to YSP, it had already been canceled by MMR, and then it got restarted, and then I left to go to work for the record company. And when that happened, that's when Matt and Huggy took over and started their reign of terror.
It was a
metal
reign
on
of terror. It was.
Yeah, they did great though. They did a great show for a long time.
I got exposed to. I remember when Slippery When Wet first came out, and hearing it on Metal Shop, and then I was turned on to Queensryche. I still had to have a cassette somewhere. They played Walk in the Shadows. They debuted it, and I was fucking like, whoa, what is this? So I was a huge metalhead, obviously. Still am.
I know you were.
What
I
was
remember that.
What was the big first hit from Slippery When Wet with Bon Jovi?
You Love a Bad Name.
Yes, that was the first song I ever heard in a strip joint. Swear to God.
I believe you.
Yes. In I want to say this is probably 86.
Yeah.
Is that around the time?
Yeah.
85, 86? Yeah,
It was a perfect time for stripper songs. In fact,
I'll never forget it.
there's a podcast
songs.
on Pantheon, our network. There's a guy that's his whole podcast is all about
Strip joint music.
current and stripper song history. Oh yeah, man, that's the whole podcast. I swear.
All right. Did either of you guys work in a strip club as an
Nope.
announcer?
No.
I did.
No.
Jackie did though. Bam Bam worked at
legendary.
Villagers notoriously
Yeah.
for a long time before he
That's how he got into radio. Cousin
Wasn't he
Ed
an
recruited him.
investor?
Cousin Ed recruited him out of his strip club.
Oh, he
Crazy.
did?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, there is something else going on that we want to talk to you guys about. If we could actually, we would be announcing it on your podcast.
Awesome.
Okay,
So,
hold on. We have a
geez,
sound effect here.
what are they up to?
We don't have
Jeez.
breaking news
What?
Yes.
sound effects.
No
on here.
sound effects.
No.
This
Just
isn't
roll with it.
We're going to be debuting shortly our own Imbalanced History channel on Live 365, which is a live music streaming I guess resource for people. A lot of people have stations there, but I can talk about what we're putting up, right, Marcus, and why.
Go ahead.
We had the Dream Police, and I'm not talking about Cheap Trick. People from one of the major music groups actually attacked our podcast on Spotify and forced Spotify to take several episodes down from Spotify. So we've got
a lot in the music industry.
What's that, buddy?
They did that with a lot of music podcasts.
We didn't know, but we were finding this out as we've been going. So we have a whole stack of them that were taken down on Spotify. They're still available out there on other apps. It's just weird. It's a weird thing that's going on. So we decided, with the opportunity to work with the gang at Live 365, that what we do is start with that. I don't know, I think we're going to start in the first batch. It's like 7 and 7, and then 7 and 7 sounds like a good way to start. And then another 7. And then we're going to be able to do some expanded episodes. Marcus, you did one already.
Yeah, I did one on Peter Gabriel, and we just put the full songs in because usually when we edit present our podcasts, we highlight our points with segments of songs, short segments, 30, 40 seconds.
Which is why we were surprised that we got any shit from them.
So that's illegal, apparently?
No, it's not. It's
No,
part
it's
of fair use, and it's
okay.
totally egregious and random. And they haven't even given us specific episode reasons, and we've asked for all that stuff. So rather than get into a fight with one of the biggest music groups in the world, we figured we'd just do our thing. And it was a good way to get them out there and start this channel, which we've been talking about. And then Marcus worked up and that one, and I've been working on an expanded version of our Story of the Police episode, so we can play the full songs for people, because we've had a number of people ask us about stuff like that. And
well, how do people find the Live 365?
Well, if they go to Imbalance History of Rock and Roll on social media, we'll be announcing when it's ready to roll out there.
Oh, okay.
And we're on Marcus or our radio, my Koob radio, or Marcus in the Darkest pages. Yeah. Basically, there's also other opportunities to do other stuff. And for us, mainly inside the Imbalance History of Rock and Roll, to maybe do some other programming in there as well. So we're pretty excited about rolling out the channel and having our own channel there. Yeah, thanks to Johnny Floater and everybody. Guy's name is it's a radio name, right?
Totally. Johnny Floater. Totally.
Great guy. He's been hooking us up with all the right people there at Live 365. So we'll let you know about that. But we wanted to announce it here on the Geez podcast.
That's fantastic. Congratulations, guys. Isn't it incredible? Like, you guys have been around a long time. We've been around a long time, maybe not as long, maybe, it doesn't really matter, but how you've seen the industry evolve, and all the different sort of opportunities and different modalities to broadcast now, as opposed to 20 years ago.
Oh, it's changed so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember in the 90s when Scott's system started beginning with voice tracking. I was working in Denver at a couple of rock stations during that time, and we had early Pro Tools, early Odyssey was one of the programs we were working with.
Audacity?
Yeah, Audacity. That's it. Audacity.
I get those two mixed up all the time. That's why it's the Imbalance History of Rock.
Does George Soros own Audacity too, or did he?
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's free software.
Yeah, but yeah, there was some early software, and how far it's come, and how they're able to voice track now, and how they've really taken out the personality and the soul of a medium is really disappointing. And
sucks.
That connection. I mean, we're all radio people, so it's important to us. And I feel very lucky that I have lasted as long as I have in the changing of the business. It's becoming younger and younger. I feel lucky and grateful that I'm still able to do my shift every week at WMMR in Philadelphia, because it's so much fun. And
that's old school. But that's old. That's an outlier now.
Yeah,
it really is. And we're an anomaly in the business. There's no doubt about it. We're an anomaly rock radio station in the business.
True. In the 80s, the name Weekend Warriors came out. It's the Weekend Warriors with and the people who were on the weekends. Now we're the Weekend Warriors.
Yeah, it's the old guy. It's the geriatric Weekend Warriors.
You're a world-class engineer on the line.
Well, yeah, and the great Jim Ladd recently passed away. Knowing that
the last DJ, he was
he was the inspiration for the great song from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And I remember just listening to Shockey was one of the guys that really caught my attention first, like, because he'd tell you a story. I learned so much about each band or each song or whatever in between. I was just like captivated. I couldn't turn it off.
Yeah,
and that's totally gone. That's been gone for a long time now.
Yeah,
but it is a shame.
Yeah,
these automation services do not know the art of the segue.
No.
You know when you look at your music log and you see two songs, you're like, oh shit, and you go, give me a dry drop of a cart, and I'm gonna put these two songs together. Like you're there back time in the song to get it perfect, and then you just nail like something into like a song that ramps up like a Shine On You Crazy Diamond, and you get this perfect segue,
right?
And You don't care what you said on the air. That segue, you would hit the fucking mic button so you could record it on your air check session. It was so good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
When you turned on the mic, Harry, that's when your cassette would record.
Right,
Your air
right.
check.
Yeah. Jeez, when was the last time that happened?
I wish they would put a cassette deck back into the studio instead of going to have to pull it digitally. I'd rather play it digital, record the cassette, and then throw it on digital that way.
Totally
I
agree.
love having that cassette.
Character.
Oh
Yeah.
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 It's got character and imperfection.
Oh yeah.
Like
Unreal.
vinyl. That's
Yeah.
one of the things I love about vinyl.
We have a turntable in the studio.
Oh,
we
we
still
use it.
do vinyl
We use it.
weekends, and Pierre does the vinyl cut every day.
Oh yeah.
I used to love it though in the vinyl days when you would put something on like that segue you're talking about, Jason. We had a
Yeah.
long, slow segue coming down there, and you'd be like smoothing it in, and then it would do the, it would have that one thing where it skips over to like a second and a half, 2 seconds later.
Ruined.
Man, Mojo ruined. Yeah, for sure.
Classic.
Oh man.
Oh,
So
man.
funny. I started in rock radio, and it's such a blast. The most legendary name in rock radio, Harry, and I know that Marcus and Ray will smile when I say this name. Don't smile yet. How many Christmas cards do you have from Bobby? Handwritten.
Yes,
She was the best.
I know.
Bobby Silver.
Still is.
7 or 8, I think, is she worked about maybe 10. I have about 10 from her.
Yeah.
And then she retired, which is a bummer.
Interscope was she with for a long time?
Yeah.
And then-
Yeah, she was with everybody at one
Yeah,
point.
she set me up with an interview with Josh
Seriously.
Homme from Queens of
Mercury,
the Stone
Jeff,
Age on
Interscope.
Era Vulgaris. And it was such a fun interview. I love Bobby, and hanging out with her at shows was a blast.
Little lady with this crazy, all messy hair. Harry, she'd walk in with like Marilyn Manson.
She could get anybody on the phone, Jason. She had the old fashioned, the leather, phone book, and she could flip that open, get who you need to talk to, who we need to get on. She was amazing in that regard.
Just
Like,
give me an ad. Give me an ad.
We all have Rolodexes in boxes somewhere from the 80s and early
Right,
90s, right? But she was always on the road like all the record guys, and you had to have that leather organizer. You know what I'm talking about? 3 inches thick, and you needed all of it, right? And she was pretty amazing that way. You go into a station, and she'd be sitting in the lobby making calls on her way, to the next visit after that.
Never wasted a second of your time.
No.
She called you. This is on with a bullet.
Yeah.
I need an ad here. I need more spins here.
I was even more than that. When I was
Just
doing the
best.
metal show, I had no idea how we were impacting things, and she would tell me about it. So eventually she started pulling out the whole sheet, and when you could, I guess, she would make like a JPEG of it and email me the chart for Philly every week, so that I could know where the metal records I was playing were, selling,
How they were
how
doing.
they were selling. Yeah, pretty cool.
Hmm.
It did that for years, and nobody ever, never asked her about it. It's great.
Yeah, she should write a couple of books, man.
She should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Books. Oh,
Yep.
She is in, or
She
should
should
be.
be.
Should be.
Oh,
she
okay.
should be.
Yeah.
She
There should be a
absolutely-
wing for the
Legend.
promo people.
Yeah.
Yep. She's
They
an
could call it the
absolute
Artie Fufkin Museum.
Yeah.
legend.
Everybody would get the joke, and it'd be fun. Right in the ass. Kick me right in the ass.
Yeah.
I don't know how many hours I spent a week as a youth in listening booth at the Berkshire Mall, just flipping through records and just looking at the cover art and and all that kind of stuff. You'd buy one, you'd go home, you couldn't wait to get it out and read whatever liner notes or
Yeah.
if there were lyrics that were included in it. It was just like opening Pandora's box, man. As like a 14-year-old, and it was just entertainment. And I feel sad for the younger people today. They don't get to experience that, and
My daughter does.
they think, oh well, through
She
you, I
buys
guess.
albums.
Oh,
Yeah,
she does.
She buys
Oh,
albums.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's turning, Harry.
Yeah.
The worm
Go
is
back.
turning.
Oh, it is.
Oh yeah. Listen, we have a great store here in Doylestown called Siren Records, and
Okay.
you walk in there, and it's almost all vinyl.
Mm.
They have some CDs, and they have the new releases on CD, but most of these places now have gone at least 50 to 75% vinyl, because that's what people are interested in.
Wow.
I'll do a little thing with my record collection. Okay. I have about 1,500 albums, and about 2,500, 3,000 CDs. The values over the years, the albums became worth less and less and less, right?
Mm-hmm.
But over the course of time, even though there's more CDs, it's gone like this. And
It's like a precious metal coming back.
My CDs are virtually worthless. They're like $1 each if they'll take them for a trade.
I sold mine years ago. Brought huge bins of them. I went through them. I'm like, all right, where's all the signed ones? Like, you know, like I got like the Sabbath album.
Every one of them. Yep.
Yeah, signed by the 4 original members. I'm like, okay, I'm not selling this one. But I brought these bins into Mad Platter in Westchester, and they're like, I'll give you $12 for them. I'm like, there's like 4,000 CDs.
$12.
Totally.
Wow.
So I keep them all.
Yeah.
Got a question for you guys about vinyl. What was the first album you each bought with your own money?
Oh, with my own money.
Yeah. What was the first album you bought?
Man,
I got mine.
Question.
Think about it, Harry. I'll give you mine. The first one I ever got, which changed my life to this day, was from I have twin older brothers that are 5 years older than me. And there was a guy that lived up the street that was a metalhead, and he gave me Blizzard of Oz. That was the first one given to me. The first one I bought was Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil.
Wow.
Yep. And there's a lot of imagery in that one too. Harry.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
We used to have a Motley Crue flag hanging that covered our window in the fraternity house with the pentagram on it.
That's exactly what the album cover was.
Yeah, that's right.
I had that one from your parents back then.
Right.
My parents told me not to listen to it. So what did I want to do? Go
listen
get
to it. Yeah. Kiss Alive, 1975.
Oh, Kiss Alive 2's in my collection, Harry.
Well, that came out like 2 years later, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. After Destroyer.
Yes.
Yes.
And you want imagery? It was there.
Exactly.
Them on stage on the risers and Gene with the blood and everything.
Right. How about you, Marcus?
Bigger than both of us, Hall & Oates was the first album I ever bought with my own money. And the first one I ever the first one I was ever gifted was Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
It's not hard to see why you ended up in this industry when that happened. You know?
I think the first gifted one I remember was City to City by Jerry Rafferty.
Ooh, that's a great album.
Yeah.
Baker Street, Harry?
Well, yeah. And On Down the Line or something down the line.
Yes.
Yes.
Right down the line.
Right down the line.
I remember listeing to those songs on radio and reading Hardy Boy books late at night and stuff like that. Seriously.
Oh my. Isn't it like such a shame that the radio industry has taken like the left turn to shitville that it has in a lot of ways? Like it used to be so like integrated and like a touch point of your local community and everything. Like I slept with a boombox behind my head. You know, and the pillow was against it, and I just listened to radio. I never wanted to get into radio. I totally had by accident. I was a forestry major at Penn State, but I realized I was too dumb for the science and math of it. And some teacher in high school said, "Hey, you got a good voice. You should think about radio." So I ended up in radio. I worked at a beer store, and a guy in radio came in, and that's how I got a job, an intern.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
The things we're learning on this podcast. It's unbelievable. Oh, jeez.
Ed Wank was the morning guy at Quick Rock and State College, and he came in and he paid with a check when I got his beer. It was a drive-through beer distributor. I looked at it. I said, "Are you the Wank in the morning guy?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I was thinking about changing my major to broadcast." He goes, "I need an intern for the fall. I'd love to have the beer guy." 2 weeks later, I started my radio career.
No
30
shit.
years ago.
Wow.
I never knew
beer
that.
Guy? Were you at first the beer guy on the I
Yeah, absolutely. I was the intern beer guy.
He doesn't even drink.
Yeah, I did then, Harry.
Oh, you did?
I
wish I knew you then.
Yeah.
It could have gotten ugly if you put your name in there because his name was Wank.
Ed Wank. Yeah, it was
Wank
W-E-N-C-K.
In the morning would have been really bad if he had given you that nickname.
Yeah.
You'd be trying to live that down your whole career. You know?
Yeah, Wank in the morning. Jeez.
Oh, geez.
It was like the morning wood.
Hilarious.
You got to watch those morning nicknames. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. All right, boys, we got to jump, but this was awesome. Let's plug the podcast again.
It's the imbalanced history of rock and roll. Look, we froze.
And the Live 365.
And Live 365 will be launching sometime in the next couple of weeks. Keep an eye on there. If anywhere you look, You just type in imbalanced history. We've figured this stuff out on SEO and Google speak. Basically, you can type in imbalanced with an I history anywhere, and it'll pop. You can find us on podcast apps and all that stuff, except for a few episodes on Spotify. Thank you, Universal.
Otherwise, get those ones on Apple or iTunes or whatever else you listen to.
It'll be on the new channel and much more. So,
Jason's
good to
got
see
a
you, fellas.
hockey.
You look great. Sounding great. It's good to
Thank
have
you.
you. Good to
Jason's
have
got a
us.
hockey
Good
interview
to
he's
have
got to do in like 5 minutes.
Who you talking to?
Nice.
Who you talking to?
I can't say yet.
Okay.
Oh, for
That's
God's
cool.
sake.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
because it's such breaking news.
Suspense builds.
Love that Colorado
Bob
Rockies,
Martinez
by the
announces
way,
his next
behind
interview.
you. That Colorado Rocky thing
Yeah.
is amazing.
It's an old school Colorado Rockies patch.
Absolutely. First hockey playoff game I went to as a kid was when the Flyers played the Rockies in the late 70s, early 80s,
Wow.
and they beat the snot out of us.
And who did the
It was
Rockies
so
become
fun.
then? Was
What?
it the Devils?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Chico
Devils, yeah.
Resch
Yeah.
was our goalie, I think, when we got beat. Chico Resch was the Rocky goalie.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and we became the Devils, and we were the Kansas City Scouts
And he-
before.
I saw
right, and
Chico at the Stadium Series.
Chico
Because
was an
he's an
Islander,
announcer
too.
for the Devils.
Nice.
Yeah.
Chico. He was awesome.
He's the man.
Show Ray this.
Oh,
Ooh. Oh.
when did you
Signed-
get that?
Signed right here by the Dimebag gave this to me. Signed by Dime. You can barely see
Oh
it
my
there.
God.
Wow.
Because I was doing the metal show back in the day at another
Mm-hmm.
market. I was one of the first guys to play Pantera on the radio. And I got to know those guys. And when they came to Philly, Dime gifted me the Dime Bolt.
Wow.
It was an amazing time.
Yeah, those days are gone. That's payola.
Whoa.
That is payola.
I see nothing. I know nothing.
Sergeant
I have
Schultz,
a,
it works.
I have a Capitol Records leather couch in the house. Boys, we'll check out the pod. We encourage
All right,
everybody to do so. You
All
guys are awesome. Thanks
gotta
so much
do
for
it
coming
again.
on.
Looking great,
Yeah.
guys.
Soon.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good. See ya.
See you, boys.
Thanks.
There they are, Harry.
That's awesome. We got to do that again. We only got started.
Yeah, I love talking about like the rock radio and old school radio days.
Yeah,
God damn the industry. It just pisses me off sometimes.
I know. It's never going to be the same.
Ugh.
We just got to deal with it.
Yeah, I guess we
You
do.
know, we got to quit being old men punching at clouds.
Yeah.
You know, because that's
When
what
are
we
these
sound
kids
like.
gonna get off my
Yeah.
yard?
I know. Like Martin Roach put it up here. His 9-year-old has all of Taylor Swift's albums and has memorized the liner notes and the lyrics.
My daughter as well.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, she's a huge Swiftie. Yep. But she buys albums. Like,
Yeah.
God bless her, you know?
Right.
She understands. She's a throwback, though. You know?
Right.
She was born in the wrong generation.
Right.
Matter
Me
of fact,
too.
I went and saw her last night. My older daughter, Kira Lee, she was in production of Beauty and the Beast last night, Harry.
Oh, really?
So Ange and I went last night and saw the opening night of the show, and she just fucking killed it. Like, she was awesome.
Oh, good.
She was the wardrobe. I don't know anything about this.
I don't know either.
I don't know the story, but like, there's this one scene where like the main character like bumps into her, and then she goes and like nails this like "Rah!" like this crazy operatic high note. She just crushed it. Me and Ange were just laughing our bag off in the audience.
Now, was Ange buckled on the edibles or?
No. We stayed good. Well, she had a nice cocktail. She had a blood orange martini as we had dinner. While we dropped her off for her call time, and then went and got something to eat. So
Nice.
but yeah, that was good. It was great.
Beautiful.
So you had some stuff you wanted to get to, Har?
No, we don't have time.
We do. We can go a little bit late.
No, we don't. We don't.
I can go to 5 after
Oh, jeez. Well,
11:05.
Well, how about our buddy Larry Boa making an
saw
ace,
this.
a hole-in-one, playing golf down in Florida with a couple other Phillies. I
Yep.
believe Bryson Stott, Trey Turner might have been in that group. And they had Paco Figueroa, who was the first base coach. They were all copied in on the tweet from Bryson Stott. So I assume that was the foursome. And Bo hits a hole-in-one, and he goes and picks the ball up out of the hole. And it was at some outing, I guess, and was the closest to the pin thing, and he just stuck the thing right in the hole.
Right in the hole. I saw the video. You guys posted it on Swing It and Dig It.
Yeah.
And I was like, I go, what do you say, Bo?
I texted him, and he's like, "It was a feeling like none other." Now think about what that guy has done
What
in
he's felt.
in baseball. He won a World Series. Okay,
Yeah.
he's coached World Series teams in World Series, and that hole in one was like nothing he's ever experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, isn't that great?
And I think we've had Larry on. We love Larry.
Oh,
We don't like Larry.
No, we love him.
Larry.
Yes, he's the greatest.
He is one of the greatest fucking guys.
Oh,
Just the real dude. I just love it. We got to get him on for a Phillies preview, Har.
yeah, we should.
Yeah,
Should.
he's
down
fantastic.
in Florida. I don't know if you could hook that up until maybe he comes back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Comes back to the area, but yeah, we got to get him on.
Oh, such a
Yeah.
great guy.
Now, do you want to address this whole Flyers kerfluffle that apparently happened this week on WI Pay with Keith Jonesy?
Yeah, I guess he said on there, about the rebuild. Like, the rebuild's very controversial, Harry.
Oh yeah,
Because like Philly fans always go, you need to do a tear down and rebuild. Like, they say they want this, but they don't want it, Harry. Because to say you want a rebuild and a tear down is one thing. To live it is another.
yeah.
So it's totally different. But they're in a rebuild. And look, Jonesy said, yeah, we've told everybody publicly that we're doing a rebuild. We told the players we're not doing a rebuild, essentially, is the Cliff Notes version. But this is Jonesy snapping into radio mode.
Okay.
Like, he was on the radio for 20 plus years with Ange.
Right.
And I'm sure what they told and the only thing that matters in a rebuild is not what they say. It's what they do. And if they're not in a rebuild, they'd be adding at this trade deadline as a team that's positioned as a playoff team right now.
Right.
They would be out there shopping to try and add to this team to make it better, to better position it for a run or whatever.
Right.
And that is not the case. It's going to be the opposite. It's going to be subtraction, not addition. And look, Jonesy got caught up being on the radio and said something that was, and you know him, he's super witty. And people are taking it as if he was completely serious. And I say to this, all the controversy, I think, good. It has people talking about the Flyers more again.
Yeah. Well, what do you think they told the players prior to this season?
I think what they told the players is, yeah, we're in rebuild mode here, but ultimately you guys in this room will determine the timeline of a rebuild.
Right. How long this rebuild goes is up to you.
Yeah, these young players like Joel Farabee, it's up to you. Tyson Forster, it's up to you. How you guys develop determines the timeline for this team to become a legit year in, year out competitor on an ascension to becoming a cup contender. That will be determined by players. No general manager can determine that because the general manager doesn't skate a shift, doesn't develop, doesn't go into the offseason and work hard and do all those things. So that'll ultimately says they're in a rebuild.
Okay.
I know people are getting crazy about it.
Yeah.
But and some people want the rebuild where you tear it all the way down so you can get a Connor Bedard or they were mad a lot this season, Harry, because they were winning.
Right.
They're going, oh, this is bad. They're winning. So if you don't want them to win, you want Joel Farabee to stink this year. You want Tyson Forster to not develop.
Right.
And Morgan Frost and Sam Ayerson and Cam York.
Well, that's where you want the process.
Yeah, you want to stink on purpose.
Right, right.
You want to tank in hockey, it's really simple. You get an inferior goaltender.
Right, right.
A guy who can't stop a muffin like me.
Well, they are overachieving, and they're still in the playoffs right now. What are they, third in the Metro?
Yeah, you got to finish. They're going to have to finish in the top 3 to make the playoffs because they can't. The wild cards are not going to be a team that's
the wild cards are Detroit and Tampa, which were from the other division. So if they drop back to the Devils, would pop up maybe into that third spot. The Flyers are out.
Yeah, exactly. They beat Tampa the other night 6-2.
I saw that. I was watching.
Boy, did Vasilevsky stink out loud in that game. Holy cow.
He did.
He was horrible.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, I know we're down to a couple minutes here. I just thought I'd prioritize. We'll get to this F1 thing next week, but it seems like
qualifying starting right now, Harry, on the TV in the home studio.
Okay. All right.
Bahrain International Circuit.
The NFL people are all out in Indianapolis at the Combine, and somebody spoke with Troy Vincent, who's high up in the NFL front offices, competition committees, and all that kind of thing, and asked him about the tush push and whether that was going to be outlawed in the offseason. And according to what I'm reading here on Crossing Broad, is that, quote, the general sentiment within the league is that it's a credit to the Eagles that they've found a short yardage play that works so well for them. Vincent said the competition committee didn't even discuss the tush push when it met at the scouting combine because everyone is on the same page that there's no reason to ban it.
Yeah.
So
Stop
there you
it.
go.
You want to stop them from doing it?
Stop
them from achieving the goal of getting a first down.
Like they did to themselves against Tampa in the playoffs.
That's exactly right, Harry.
So thought I'd get that in.
Let's tell the people about Fudge Kitchen, Harry.
Yes, the original Fudge Kitchen, the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the OGs podcast. You know where to find them, down the Jersey Shore. 6 locations: Cape May, Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The original Fudge Kitchen make all of their fudge and sweet treats right in the store, guaranteeing a delicious product. Stop by and let them know that we sent you. And if you're not able to visit in person, no problem. They'll ship it right to you. Be sure to check them out at fudgekitchens.com.
There you go. We'll be back next week, episode 89. Everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you next time on the OGs